Last week on the Al Nicoletti Show. Without further ado, let's welcome them to the show. Casey, Riley, what's up, man?
What's going on,
dude? What's happening?
Yeah.
Why net worth? What has been so special about being a part of that net worth community?
The culture was really the biggest thing. I mean, my broker, and he's still a mentor to this day, his name's Joshua too, really emphasized having an amazing culture and building that within a team.
I think what's really helped us like build our brand and our image is like attending everything. Like there's not one specific group that you can go to that you're gonna benefit more or less from. So like go to the Jax RIA, go to that one person's random event that they're hosting at a Chili's on a Thursday afternoon. Like you never know who you're gonna meet.
You have to
100%.
first start aligning yourself with the right people that want to level up, want to be successful, want to make money, want to do the right thing, have integrity.
I always say you never want to be the temperature, you always want to be the thermostat.
I like that.
You control the temperature around you. You know, like if you got to bring the energy up, you got to do it. If you got to, you're about to have that heated phone call, relax, calm the tone down, and cool it down, and bring it out there. You know.
What about fun activities?
We tailgated and took everybody to the opening Jags games with the Chiefs.
Oh, that's
last
cool.
year. So we tailgated, got a couple spots, had cornhole, TV set up.
The net worth team like is my friends and family. Like at this point, it's who I hang out with. Like whether it's at work, outside of work. Like even the Luke Combs concert last weekend.
The messy deals, they're profitable deals. I always tell people now, expect the unexpected, and then that's the expectation you should have.
We want title done the right way too. That's the other thing. Like there's been so many times where you see like a title company closes something and then it's just things need to get worked backwards. I think that might even happened on that one where something gets recorded incorrectly or there's a fix or like title was done the past 2 transactions incorrectly and you're like, oh my gosh, this is just going to be a headache, but we'll stick with it and we'll work it out.
The Al Nicoletti Show mugs.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
I will be drinking out of this later.
Everyone now they'll know whose mugs are in the office.
A shirt for you guys.
All
right.
There we go.
Look at this, right? For you. One for you. Yeah.
Swagged out today, man.
There you go. Yeah. Thank you so much.
course,
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate you guys. What a great episode that was last week. If you missed any of that, because it was just so jam-packed, you want to go back, rewind the entire episode, because there are so many golden nuggets you can get from these episodes. And if you want more content on the Al Nicoletti Show, scan the QR code at the left top of the screen. You'll see it right there. That's where you're going to get all the content. Whether we're on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, iTunes, you name it, follow us there. And of course, if you are enjoying these episodes, feel free to share the episodes. If you're on Facebook, share the episodes. Everybody can get amazing value from these episodes. You never know if it's a friend or colleague that's going through situations that can resonate with what the guest's talking about. Follow it there. And of course, you can share the YouTube link to anybody. That's what it's all about in the community. And I got to tell you, what a special episode this is for me. I haven't had a broker or realtor on the show in at least a couple years. And I think there has never been a better time or a better person to have on the episode for this first one in a while. And Christina Welch has so much knowledge being a broker and a realtor for this industry for years. And she's seen everything from the good market to the down market, the COVID market, and then everything now and all the changes. And we're going to dive in on that. So I'm ready to go. I got my notes. I got my notepad. And of course, as you can see, we are in studio for this special episode. So get your pens out, get your paper out. Let's rock this thing. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate. And we are always going to provide the best educators in the game for you to take your game to the next level, right? Whether we're in land, whether we're in Airbnb, short-term rentals, or long-term holds, commercial properties, marketing, branding, anything adjacent to real estate, we want to provide that value to you on how you can take your company to the next level. On my show today, I have the Christina Welch. This is an amazing episode that you don't want to miss, where we're going to talk about and dive in on some of the hottest topics in real estate right now. So without further ado, let's welcome her to the show, Christina Welch.
Hello.
Thank you for
Hi.
being here.
I don't even know how to follow that. That's great. So I think I'm a mover and a shaker. So I appreciate being here, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for taking time to come and sit down with me. I mean,
Yeah.
this is special for me because I haven't seen you in a while.
Right.
I saw you at Rebar Camp. We bumped
Yeah.
into each other, and it's crazy because I did a training for the team. We connected a long time ago at NEFBA, and it's great to see your journey. Great to see your team's journey and what you've been doing with real estate. Just for those that don't know, like, give a little bit about yourself so we have some context.
Okay, yeah, background. I've been selling real estate for 18 years. And when I say selling real estate, I got my real estate license back in 2006. So after that, the market crashed. And so I learned to sell in the worst market possible, and I was successful in it. And from there, I grew a team, started our team in 2011. We became the top selling team in Northeast Florida. We still are holding that title strong. And what a lot of people don't realize is I actually haven't been selling real estate in 8 years now. So I actually haven't been in the field selling, but I train, I lead, I motivate. I'm out in the market working to help agents better their career, better their positioning, and make sure that they are educated enough to know everything that's happening in real estate because it changes every single day.
As the market has changed so much recently, and we got to dive in on probably the hottest topic that everybody's talking about right now, right? A lot of changes and in the whole NAR thing that's popped up. I'd just love to hear your thoughts on NAR, and then let's dive in on the contract changes that are going to be happening, because that there seems to be a lot of realtors really concerned about those changes coming up. So what are your thoughts on NAR and that whole ruling that came out?
So let's take it back a little bit. So in my opinion, as a realtor, you always need to show your value. There are 15,000 realtors in Northeast Florida. And so with that, you have to be able to go out into this world and make sure that you have a buyer that you are working with and a seller that you're working with, and you've shown your value. That's the hardest thing for realtors to do right now. They have a hard time doing that. And so with the NAR changes that have come through the pipeline, it's going to make our agents a little bit better at their job. They're going to make sure that they're dedicated to working with a buyer. They're already signing listing agreements, but now we're going to have buyer agreements signed. And honestly, I think it should have been like that from the very beginning. It tells a buyer that, one, I'm committed to working with you, and two, that the buyer is committed to working with that realtor. You would not go into an attorney's office without signing a retainer, right?
Absolutely,
Right?
yeah.
So it's the same for real estate. We need to talk about how we get paid, because a lot of people think that we make all kinds of money, and we actually don't make money until we're sitting at the closing table and until it's closed. And there's so much that happens between the time you meet a buyer and the time you actually go to closing. You have to show your value and be able to make sure that you've not only locked them in as a customer, but that you're working in their best interest and closing them at the closing table.
It's funny because one of the biggest reactions I feel like for a lot of the buyers agents that were concerned was the commission part, right? Like and it really comes down to what kind of experience are you going to provide to that customer? What kind of knowledge and education can you give them?
Right.
And a lot of people aren't thinking about that, right?
They're not at all. And they're not explaining the process. A lot of buyers will call and be like, hey, I want to go see this house. Well, there's a lot more that goes behind just going and opening a door. If you're a seller, you want to make sure that the buyer is completely vetted before you actually let them walk through the property. And so it's going to make sure that the agents are taking those steps to ensure that the buyers that they're showing these property to are qualified and that they are going to be working with them. And there's a lot of different reasons that people buy and sell property. But if we can make sure that we've walked them through the process, because there are so many steps in the process, and they change state to state. So remember, we have a lot of people moving here. It's different here compared to other areas of the country. And so we need to make sure that we are fully encompassing the entire process from start to finish.
I gotcha. So where do you see this really heading in like a year or two? Do you see a lot more realtors not coming into the game? Do you see it where it's going to filter out a lot of the people? What do you think the ripple effects are going to be from the whole NAR thing?
It's a great question. I think that it's going to make agents have to have these conversations. So, and if they're not willing to have these conversations, I think it's going to weed them out pretty quickly. because nobody wants to work for free. And everybody was like, oh, well, we get a set commission or we have a percentage that we're supposed to be paid. And it has nothing to do with that. Like everybody has their income and they know how much they need to make to survive life. So if we can talk about this in the beginning and as far as how much we're going to get paid, just like in every other industry, we know from the very beginning what an attorney is going to cost per hour. Like for us, we should be talking about that up front.
Gotcha. So for anybody that's a realtor that's either just starting, just coming into the game, what would be your best advice to them knowing everything that you've heard about it?
Well, if you're just getting your license and you're just getting into real estate, it only takes a week to get your license in the state of Florida. And so with that being said, there's so many more things that need to go into the process because you're helping somebody buy and sell one of the largest investments that they have. And so you need to educate yourself consistently. You need to know all of the contracts inside and out. And since we do have contract changes coming down the road, you might have learned on NEFAR contracts, but now you're going to need to learn on the FAR Florida bar contracts and make sure that you know them inside and out because you're not an attorney, but you need to be able to guide your buyer and make sure that you're giving them the correct information and not telling them something that doesn't exist, because I see agents do that time and time again, and they don't know the contract and they can't help their buyers get through the process without making sure that they're protecting them.
So yeah, you just touched on a subject that I was surprised to hear about a few days ago.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to a presentation at one of the KW offices, and a couple people came for the probate part.
Right.
And one of the team members said, "Oh my gosh, you should have seen what it's been like for the last couple weeks." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
They said the amount of training that everybody's been providing on the new contract changes that everybody needs to be aware of, everybody's been going crazy over. So let's talk about that, because I feel like Northeast Florida has definitely been different in terms of their contracts versus the rest of Florida or maybe Central Florida. What are some of the changes that a lot of the realtors and brokers need to be aware of or start educating their teams on that they need to be prepared for today?
So there's a couple of things. So one, the NEFAR documents are going away completely. And so gone. So we will be working with the Florida bar contracts moving forward, which if you're not familiar with that whole process, there's two different contracts for the state of Florida. One's an as-is contract and one's a regular contract. So now you need to make sure that not only do you know one, but you also know the other one. And then two, if you're taking a buyer out, you need to make sure that you're negotiating your contract up front, or how you're going to get paid, how much you're going to get paid, because there's MLS changes as well, where we're not going to be able to put what we get paid as an agent in the MLS. And so we talk about it with our sellers on the backside of how much we would like to offer or how much we will be offering for an agent to bring a buyer in. And it's really going to be contingent on what we talk about in the beginning with the buyer, and making sure that we protect ourselves and show our value so that we do get paid at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it goes all to the education side, right?
Education.
Is especially you run your team, you know, you're trying to educate your agents.
Right.
And it's really important that they stay educated on these topics. What have been some of the top resources that you've seen where realtors can get more educated on all of these? Is it just showing up to the team meetings? Is it showing up to the classes? Is it going to things that the Florida Realtors put on?
Yes. It's all of that. And I'll tell you right now, there's so much education out there for an agent in this market and what's been changing and what changes have come through the pipeline, whether it be from NAR or from the Florida Realtor Commission or from your local board or from your local brokerage. There's so much education happening right now that if you do not know what's happening, you must be living under a rock. And maybe you should exit the real estate industry altogether, because there are things that you're going to have to stay on top of. And real estate always changes. It always has its ebbs and flows, and you have to adjust and change with it. I mean, talk about 2007, 8, 9 short sales foreclosures, and those have kind of become obsolete. And now we just have to learn a new way to work with our customer base, because if we don't, we're not going to be able to make it in this industry.
Absolutely. So when you're talking about education, there's a lot of things with that, right? And one thing I know you're a big proponent of is creating content, right? What are you all doing differently than a lot of the other brokerages in terms of creating content for education? Is it more video based? Is it email marketing? Is it just getting more pamphlets out to the consumers? What does that side of content creation look like?
So we always know everybody learns different. Like you might be a visual learner, you might be able to listen to Audible, you might be able to learn by reading. And so we want to provide all of those resources to you however you learn best. And so we'll sit down, like we just sat down last week, and we outline the upcoming training for our brokerage to make sure that the agents that are there are getting not only training from a new agent standpoint, but also from an agent that's been in the industry for quite some time.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think content creation is definitely a game changer, right? I think if there's so many topics out there that people have heard of, but they really need the expert to come in and like really break it down. Yes. And I think having that for your team is going to be huge, and it'll help other agents that'll come in. They'll understand the process better. And then they're going to start doing it. Have you all started implementing things with like Instagram and YouTube and just done?
Oh yeah. That's for quite some time now. So I will say that one of the things that sets us apart is we have been doing it for almost 18 years now. And so as a team, we have seen all the ins and outs of what's taking place and what is continuing to take place. And so everybody has their guard up and their emotions are running high, but at the same time, as a realtor, you should realize that not every transaction is the same, not every day is the same, not every year is the same, and you're going to have to learn the ins and outs. And so from a team standpoint, we've been doing that for years. And now we've partnered with several other experienced agents in the industry to launch this new market center. And so we're going to be bringing content from our experience in the industry to the agents that are working with us from an actual been out there and done it standpoint.
So yeah, break that down, the new market center. I know that was a whole other topic. Yes. That is that part of the content creation? Is that something else that it encompasses?
It is. So we want to, on our team, so there's two parts here. So I run Welch team, and now I'm operation principal for Keller Williams. And so with that being said, we are making sure that our team still gets individual content aligned with being on the team and showing value. But on another set, we're also bringing in other information from the agents that we've partnered with, the owners that we've partnered with, to bring content to the agents that are working at the new brokerage. And so when I say we're doing it different, I say that with the aspect of all of us have been out in the industry for quite some time, and we've seen what's taken place, and we know what to expect based off of, we have a 3-month supply of inventory. What does that look like? What does it look like in each neighborhood? And so that way we can speak true of what's happening to the agents and train them to be able to do the same.
And then you just touched up on another point that I'm really curious about with market trends, right? Yeah. Where do you feel the market's at with things right now? And what markets have been hot? Have it been more the luxury side or middle market? Like what's a hot one for now?
So let's talk about the market as a whole to begin with. Okay. So the market as a whole, we need a 6-month supply of inventory to be a stable market. And that means that if there were no other houses listed between now and 6 months, we would sell out of inventory because we would be accommodating all the buyers currently looking in our market. Right now, though, we only have a 3.5-month supply of inventory. And what that means is we don't have as much inventory as we do buyers in the market. That's the market as a whole. You need to get geocentric for when you pull market stats, though, because some neighborhoods might have an influx of inventory, and their days on market or a month's supply of inventory might be higher than other areas of town because there might be a lot of new construction that's also infiltrated that neighborhood or that area. So when people are saying my house is sitting longer, sure, it's sitting longer than when we had an influx of people moving here and we had 1,000 people moving to this area a day into the state of Florida. And so when we had that influx of people, houses were flying off the market. It wasn't normal. It was back to 2003, 4, and 5 when houses were flying off the market. Now they're just taking their time. And so we used to do 6-month listing agreements because that's how long properties would sit, and that was normal. And now people are sitting longer. So when I say longer, it's longer than a week. It's longer than 2 weeks.
Right.
And I hear agents get so flustered all the time. They're like, my house hasn't sold. And I'm like, well, how long has it been sitting on the market? And they're like, it's been 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the average days on market for the neighborhood? And they're like, well, it's 60 days. I'm like, you've got some time. You haven't found the right buyer yet because that's not what the market is demanding.
Yeah. So this market is all over the place,
All
right?
over, right.
Whether it's the interest rates and then new buyers. I mean, there have to be so many new people from out of state that have come, right? From New York and California. Have you seen a huge demographic shift in Northeast Florida with out of state buyers?
There has been a huge influx of buyers. I wouldn't necessarily say out of state. That Miami traffic is one of the most most people moving to our area.
Really?
Because the price point is so much lower. You still get the Florida weather, the Florida atmosphere, but for half the cost of what the average price is in Miami. And then from there, we see some of the New England states, California, Texas. Jacksonville is actually the #1 migration state currently, and we've been in the top 5 for the last 5 years. And so for us to be #1 just tells you that people are still moving to the area. Because if you look at it again, our market as a whole, the average price point is $350,000 for all of Duval County. Now, if you drop into St. John's, the average price point goes up to $550,000. And the only reason I know this is because I actually looked at stats this morning to make sure that I was on top of my game.
You're on it.
Well, and we look at this often, though, because you have to be able to talk to what's actually happening.
Interesting. Do you feel like Jacksonville's keeping up with the pace of the migration, like city-wise? Do you think like it feels busier.
It is
like
busier.
even in the last year, I've been here since late 2018, and I remember driving around and it was like, it was traffic. I used to be from Miami, so I knew what traffic was like there, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like I go down the road and just going up over here, it's just jam packed. So like, you feel like the city's just keeping up with the pace?
I feel like there were certain communities that had a 10-year plan to sell out, and they sold out in 3 years. So nobody could have anticipated that kind of growth. And so I think in certain areas there is a struggle to keep up with roads and infrastructure that keeps our communities moving for the greater good, just because then they can hold a larger capacity. But then we also have our jobs. We're like our job market is great, and Jacksonville is constantly bringing in new large companies to bring in more people. And so the new construction is still strong, like the permits are still being pulled at a pretty average pace. They haven't really dropped down. And so I think all factors and all cylinders are running on full speed. I think we are doing what we need to do at the pace that we've been growing. And obviously some things can change, and we hear like people complaining about the traffic, but then you go to like Atlanta or Miami or Washington, D.C., and you see
horrible.
it's horrible,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if you have to sit in traffic for 30 minutes, maybe an hour, it's better than a 3-hour commute to and from work.
Yeah, I could just tell it's just picking up just crazy busy now.
It is.
So, Christina, I got to ask you this. You've started your team, and there's a lot of agents that have been in this game for a little bit that want to do the same, right? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to watch this episode and say, well, wait a second, I want to be and do just what Christina Welch is doing. How do you start a team? Like, how do you get this going, that you get to this point of building this infrastructure?
I think it comes from experience and being in the industry for a while. I tell all the new agents, the hardest part about becoming an agent is that first 2 years. Not first year, it's your first 2 years, because what you're doing is you're constantly building your sales pipeline, because that's what's going to feed you month after month and have this steady income coming in. We were fortunate enough to be in a down market, and I say fortunate enough because there were 80 agents that started when I started in real estate, and by the time that the market crash had subsided, there were 12 people left standing. And so
Crazy.
it was crazy times, and because we were some of the only people standing, people still needed to buy and sell real estate. And so you have families that are growing, you have people relocating, you have retirement, and so that will always happen. And so when people are saying, oh, the market's bad, the market isn't bad, you just have to figure out a different way to work in it. I say all of this because people get discouraged. And when you get discouraged in real estate, you kind of step out of it because you're like, oh, I don't know where my next sale is coming from. And it's really, truly a hard hard thing to get up every day and hold yourself accountable and make sure that you're making those phone calls and you're building your pipeline. And you need to know your numbers to a point where how many people should I be putting in my database daily that I'm talking to about real estate that at some point will buy or sell or invest in real estate. And so we organically grew. I know that's not what people want to hear, but we organically grew because I didn't have the capacity or the bandwidth to help all of the people that were coming into us. And we didn't pay for leads. We've only built our business based off of past customers, from referrals from other agents, from people in our sphere, so in our neighborhood or people we've met. And so I just have to, my only words of encouragement is don't give up. Because if you have I always say if you have it, then you'll make it. And everybody's like, what's it? And I'm like, you'll know if you have it.
Yeah, you have that drive. I think it's a high motor, high drive, being able to deal with a lot of people because it's a people business, right? Huge. You have to know how to have customer service. You have to know how to have good communication.
Right.
And really, it's just being able to communicate with everybody and just run it and do it and keep going.
Yes.
I'm sure you see that all the time. I know.
You do.
And people don't get it, right? They think it's got to be a certain thing.
Right. It's not a certain thing. There's no easy button at all. And everybody wants the easy button and they want customers that are going to buy tomorrow. Well, even if they don't buy tomorrow, they'll eventually buy.
Yeah.
And those will be your customers down the road. And so there's no easy button at all. You also have to be able to have a conversation. And if it's uncomfortable for you to have a conversation, it will be uncomfortable for you to do it daily and to talk about real estate. And so you just have to get out there and do it.
Yeah. It's funny how you say it takes like 2 years to like get your feet wet in it. My mentor, Dennis, when I first started at his law firm, he said it takes you about 5 years as a lawyer just to really start getting it. And I remember I hit year 6 and I thought back to him and I was like, wow, he was right. Right. So like you have to really take the advice from the people that are in this industry. So you know what that is and how long that's going to take. So everybody's impatient. And the one thing that we've been hearing on the show for the last couple of episodes has been how everything is just taking time. And a lot of people want it to be instantaneous, like you said, the easy button, but it's the time that it takes. And a lot of times it's just a grind every day. But one thing that has always been a challenge that I wouldn't say it's now a challenge, but it used to be. But, you know, for a lot of people out there, especially realtors that get the calls all day long, the emails, the scheduling. I mean, I'm on calls and emails, is finding that work-life balance and like you call it the leverage side of things, right? Please break that down. Cause like, I love to hear how you see this having been in the game for a while. And now you have the family life, the broker life. And it's like, how do you find that balance?
It's a great question. And I'm going to say time management to start with. And people are like, what does that mean?
Number one.
Yeah, number one, time management. I have a short amount of time to get a lot of things done in a day. And then distractions come up consistently. So what I tell people is you have to guard your time. You truly have to guard your time. So if you have set out to accomplish, 2 hours worth of phone calls and going to show property for 2 hours and then doing research and market updates and education yourself for 2 hours, I mean, you're going to eat lunch in there. So that's 7 hours. And most people clock into a job at 8 or 9 o'clock and they clock out at 5 o'clock. And what people don't realize is real estate, you can go 24 hours if you really wanted to and work 24 hours. But like you said, you have to be able to guard your time. So if you clock into real estate at 8 o'clock and you clock out at 5 o'clock and you've truly put an 8-hour work day in, then you'll be successful. But if you go in and you mosey into the office at like 10 and then maybe you drink some coffee and you get caught up on the office politics and you're standing around the water cooler seeing what's happening, and then you finally sit down and you're going to make an hour's worth of phone calls and you call 2 people, like, have you really made an hour's worth of phone calls? And so time can kind of get in the way of yourself. And then you leave the office at 3 to go to the gym. I mean, you've worked maybe 2 hours out of that time frame, and you're going to get a 2 hours worth paycheck, which is probably 0 to nothing. So I think a lot of people don't realize that because it is so I'm in real estate. I can do whatever I want. Like you truly have to hold yourself accountable to your time and make sure you're guarding your time to accomplish what you've set out to accomplish for that day.
So that brings me to this question. So then what's the Christina Welch method with this? How do you stay organized and prioritize things in your day? Are you time blocking things? Do you I have things called no-go zones. That's like the time blocking where like anything that happens then, I'm not dealing with it. Right.
Yeah.
Or I schedule my calls. I do 30-minute calls because I know how to like monetize my time. Right. Or if I got to go to an event, it's blocked out. How are you staying organized with all this?
I live and die by my calendar. That's it. Like if I don't have it on the calendar, it doesn't exist. And so people are like, can you meet? And I'm like, nope, I'm on a call. And usually because I have this headset that nobody can see, it hides in my hair. They'll walk in and they'll be like, can I talk to you? And I'm like, and even if I'm not on the phone, sometimes I'll be like, I'm on the phone. Team, don't hate me because I'm trying to guard my time. But I have to time block. And because I have a family, so I try to get everything done so that I can attend sports or go home and cook dinner and be present because I don't want to be the mother that's at the table, like on my phone constantly. And I know it's hard in real estate because you're like, that's one more deal. And I need to make sure that I'm talking to this person. But it can wait. It can wait an hour. It can wait till the next day. There are no fires that happen. And if there are fires that are happening, then maybe that person doesn't need to be in your life.
Yeah, right. And it's like when you first start out in the beginning, you're just like, I want to take everything. Like I'll handle this. I'll deal with this fire, and you're putting everything out.
Right.
And then I feel like even now I'm at the point of even the qualifying part of the leads that come in. I'm like, wait a second. How much time is this going to take? Yeah. Is this going to be worth the time? And is it going to make money? So like you have to really prioritize that. And like you said, if there's a fire like that, it's probably not one that you want to deal with, right? But fires happen in real estate, I feel like all the time,
They
right?
do.
Like you can't avoid that.
And they will come up. So I'm not going to say this is a perfect methodology. Like you have to stick to your time, but there will be things that come up. And so you still have to guard your time and take those things and say, do I really need to look at this or not? And so this goes back to the original conversation, what we were talking about, value. So if you have a lead that comes in, they're like, I need to see a property immediately. Are you going to drop everything you're doing to go just show this property? And I would say no. You need to qualify the buyer. You need to make sure that they are able to even get an approval for the property. You also have to schedule the showing. So a lot of people forget about that. And most of the times the houses are occupied. So you have to give some leeway for that as well. So while you're qualifying the buyer, you can also be scheduling the appointment and making sure that you're doing your value to this customer and going through how you get paid. Because if you just go show the property and you haven't gone over that, and then they're going to call this other listing agent on another property, you've already lost them. They're already gone. So did you really make yourself any money at all?
Gotcha. Yeah, there's a lot of things to look at like that.
Yes.
Are you leveraging any certain types of software with the team that's outside of the norm? Is there like anything interesting and new that you guys have been focused on to help like with the organization or making sure things like the showings are done properly?
Yes, I will tell you. So I'm going to talk two different ways. One, I'm going to talk about the team, and then one, I'll talk about the brokerage. So the team, we built out Salesforce. Salesforce is the CRM of all CRMs, and we have spent lots of money to customize it to us. So much to the point that if you were to even call in, that call immediately goes into our CRM, and there's a follow-up plan that automatically gets put onto it. Because what I found is once you lose a lead or once you don't follow up with a lead, or if that lead never ends up in your database, how much is that lead costing you?
Yeah.
And if you go back over the years and think about every single customer you lost track of, or you didn't put into the system, or you didn't follow up with properly, you've lost so much money as a realtor.
Yeah.
And remember, your number one thing is to build your sales pipeline.
Absolutely.
So then the other system is Command, which is through KW, and this isn't a KW pitch at all, but
Never even heard of Command.
so Command is it's a platform that's built for Keller Williams agents by Keller Williams, and it basically feeds customers in, and you can put them on smart plans. The whole purpose of having any sort of CRM, though, is so you do not lose track of that customer and you know when to follow up with them. So whether you're using either of these platforms or your own platform, just the best advice I can give you is put your customers in some sort of system that you know to follow up with them.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
all. It's not rocket science, but when I first started, I had notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of people. I wish I had those notebooks still because I don't know where they are and I don't know where those customers are, but they didn't end up working with me because I never followed up with them.
Yeah. So like when I first started, I was using like Excel spreadsheets
Yes,
and like
yes.
Google Sheets. And after a while, like that goes out the window.
It does.
Like you have to have some other kind of system, and CRM is a huge thing, especially for a lot of people that watch the show, a lot of people that have been on the show,
Yeah.
love having CRMs implemented. And if you don't have one implemented, it can derail everything. It can cause total chaos.
I know, and technology is so great. You can literally set it and forget it. Like the old infomercials. I don't know if you remember those. Maybe I'm dating myself now, but you can just literally set it and forget it. It will email them. It will text your customer. It'll text them, and it sounds like it's coming from you.
Yeah.
And it does remind you to call them, so you're the one that will physically have to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
But there's even CRMs now that will actually call them for you too.
Wow.
So I think technology is going to be a game changer in real estate, just to help leverage that time for our agents who do have lots of contacts in their database. Because if you're truly out there making phone calls, we've come up with a statistic. If for 1 hour, you can call 15 people. So if you're not abiding by that time frame, then you really need to look at your schedule. And that can it depends depending on how many people you get on the phone and how much they like to talk. But on average, you should be able to call 15 people an hour.
And you just touched up on another point I'm curious about, which is the use of AI and how realtors are leveraging that upcoming trend. Are you seeing a lot more touching up on that, maybe using ChatGPT or anything?
I use ChatGPT all the time. She is my godsend, and yes, it is a she for me. So, but with that being said, there's so many new AIs that are coming out of the ground, such as like staging vacant houses. Just by using AI, they can stage a property for you. So I think as a realtor, you need to stay up to date on those trends as well. I will say don't get bogged down into the bright and shiny, though, because there are so many new things that are bright and shiny, and they're like, oh, I can do this for you, and I can do this for you. So stick to the basics and try to leverage some things in your business that will actually help with your business.
Very cool. Very cool. I have to ask you one question before I get to my signature questions, which is, what do you feel has been the hardest thing for you as an entrepreneur?
Ooh, that's a great question. The hardest thing I feel like is everybody's dependent on you for your success. And because we are commission only, I have 8 different staff members that all are reliant on our business operating properly to get their paychecks. And so, because they're not agents, they're actual administrative staff. And so if our team isn't running on full cylinders and we're failing, then these people are not going to have paychecks to be able to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
So I think the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is taking that leap of faith and making sure that you have everything running on all cylinders, because if you fail, everything else fails too.
And it all falls on you, right?
It all falls on you.
And it feels like there's a big weight of responsibility,
It
you know,
does.
on all ends. Like I feel it in the firm all the time, whether it's dealing on the law firm side, the marketing side, there's a lot of moving parts.
There
And it's like,
are.
you're the leader of the ship, and you really have to help guide everybody on what's next, and and also train enough so that you're depending on them, because if something falls out of place, it's coming back on you, and
Right.
everything falls apart. So I agree.
We hope not.
Well, no, you hope not,
Yeah.
but that's the worry in the mind. It's
It
like
is.
that's what's driving us to make
Right.
sure that everything's happening the right
Right.
way. So absolutely, it is the hardest part. I
is.
agree.
It is the hardest part, but I will tell you, it's also the most rewarding, because when you can look at somebody and they are hitting their goals or hitting where they want to be at personally and professionally, it's a huge win for me to be able to look at them and say, have you gone home this afternoon and done everything you can to make you feel personal and professionally good about where you are?
Yeah.
And if they say yes, then that's a huge win. If they say no, then maybe we need to look at what I'm doing to make sure that they do feel like that when they go home.
Yeah, love it. Christina, this is all so enlightening and fantastic for us to learn from, right? It's a different perspective.
Yeah.
I usually have these signature questions towards the end of my show where, we haven't gone over this before and it's just right off the cuff for you. My first question to you is, who do you go to for mentorship and guidance on anything, whether personally or professionally?
So I'll start at home. So my husband, I talk to him about everything. We're kind of both similar personalities, so I don't always agree with what he has to say, but I do vent and talk to him about it. And then for mentorship and guidance, I've been very fortunate to meet some very successful people, not only professionally, but also personally, that I can run things by and they can help me because I was a photography major in college, so I don't have a business background at all. And so there are a lot of things that I don't know, and I try not to figure them out on my own. So I try to get as much information as possible. And that starts with people who've been in this business for a while, people who are just getting started, to see where they're struggling and what I should be doing to help them or help myself grow even more.
That's great. I mean, there's so many different ways or different people you can go to for this stuff. And that's what you can lean on an entire community, which is amazing. That's an amazing part about real estate.
I love it.
You have it. Yeah, I love it too. It's amazing. Let me ask you this. So having been the team leader on the team side and the brokerage, what do you look for in new hires or new team members that embodies the Christina Welch culture?
That's a great, great question. I'm a strong believer that you have to have some sort of drive to be able to be successful in real estate. So when we sit down with people and we talk to them about why are you getting into real estate? What is your driving factor? And if you don't have a big why or you're not really motivated, then we can kind of see immediately how they're going to fall on the spectrum of being in real estate. Because the motivating factor to taking an all commission-based job, it has to be very strong, because that is going to be how you hold yourself accountable to making sure that you're getting paid, because it is only commission. And so we look for things like that, like, what is your past history? What have you done in this world? Like, even if you're a stay-at-home mom and now you're coming into real estate, have you been grinding for the last 4 years? Because this is a grind when you get into real estate. And most people want to come in part-time. And I tell them, if you come in part-time, you're going to have to do everything you can and work twice as hard, because you're going to only have a limited amount of time to get a lot of stuff done at the end of your other job. So that's just how we look at it.
Yeah, I for sure. I can agree with that. Like, finding people that are problem solvers, high drive, that are willing to be a team player, right? Being willing to actually take on tasks that they don't maybe want to take on, but they're going to try to take on and tackle, and, at least have effort, right? Like, having an effort in things that you're not going to want to do everything, but at least try. And then you start learning about, what you like and don't like.
You do. Well, and one thing I just also want to touch on is you have to have a good attitude as well. Not everybody's going to come in real estate and get it immediately, but if you're one of those people that's bringing everybody else down, we don't want that around the office. Like, we all have our struggles, whether they be at home or with customers or whatever's happening, and you have to have an avenue to be able to work through that, so that way you're not dragging down everybody else around you. So we call them the energy vampires. John Gordon, I'm sure you've read The Energy Bus, and it's true. Like, they can really suck the life out of everybody in the office if they are very negative when they come in.
You got to have people that have energy. I agree with that.
Yeah,
that's great. Christina, this one question I've been asking a lot lately, because I feel like it's just hitting home for people, which is, a lot of people are in the grind every day, but they're not thinking about what's next. And you've been in this so long that, you're like running the team on the brokerage side. But let me ask you, what's next for Christina Welch?
I had a feeling you're going to ask that. So our next big thing, and this is our 3 to 5 year, is to build a building. That's my next dream. I want to build a building so that way we can harbor all of our new agents under one roof. Right now we'll be under two. And there's a lot of construction issues and development issues happening around where we want to build, just because the county's kind of put a squash on permits. And so that's our next big thing, though.
Cool. And it's just like a 1-story building, 2-story, 3-story, or?
I have a vision. So
Okay.
we want to have it at least 2 stories.
Okay.
We want to have some outdoor space, so that way we can utilize outdoor venue for locals in the community, which they can come and utilize at their own whenever it's available. And so, yeah, that's it.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Well, I
we're
can't wait to
excited.
see it, and I hope you show pictures of it as it comes out and
Yeah.
post stories. And it's really cool seeing your journey, and it's really cool that we got to meet, gosh, what was it, like 5-6 years ago, and seeing what you're doing now, and I love it. And thank you so much for
Thanks
taking
for
the
having
time
me.
on the show to come out and do this. As I do for in-person guests, I actually have swag for you.
Oh, okay.
So I actually have my own Al Nicoletti shirt
Oh, I
show
love it. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
on the back.
Well, I'll have to wear it on social.
There you go,
And then I'll
exactly.
tag you.
And we have a mug.
Oh, great. Thank
So
you.
yes,
Awesome.
there you go. Now you
All
have
right.
coffee, shirt. We got the whole thing right
I
there.
do. I love it. Thank you. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you. I know how busy you are, and I know what you've been doing with the community, and so it means a lot for for you to come over here and do the show. So thank you for doing it. Christina, as I do with all my guests at the end of the show, we do a segment called Final Words, Final Thoughts, anything that you really want to leave the audience with, that last piece of advice that you really want to leave. So as I do with my guests, Final Words, Final Thoughts, Christina Welch.
Final words. Well, I'm gonna do 2 parts again. One, this is to all the people who are in real estate who are discouraged. Don't give up, because you can be successful in real estate as long as you put your hard work into it and make sure that you're doing everything you can, because at the end of the day, it can be a lucrative business for you. And then this one's for the buyers out there looking. There are some changes, as there always are changes in real estate. And so just make sure that you're working with an agent that can show their value. And when they talk to you about the buyer broker agreement, you review it with them, and just know that the agents do not work for free, and they have families at home, and they do need to put food in their mouth as well. So my final words.
There you go. Love it. We're going to leave it right there. Christina, thank you again so much for coming on the show. And I can't wait for everybody to watch this and see this, because this is a great episode for people to learn about some of the hot topics, things, trends, and some of the things you've been working on and working towards. So thank you so much again.
Thank
And
you.
I can't wait to see you soon.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right, everybody, you heard it right there from Christina Welch. If you missed any of that episode, go back, rewind, check that out, especially if you're getting into the game, you are in the game right now, and you really want to learn about some of the changes. Like she talked about NAR and the contract changes. You got to go back and watch that. And if you missed any of the episode, you can find us, scan the QR code right at the right top right there, and find us on all the Linktree platforms on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, all of it. And of course, we go live every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Another one in the books. We'll see you all next Wednesday. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.